it actually came to me because I know you were talking to the gentleman about his throat. So I have this weird thing where whenever I get upset, I lose my voice. And it's upset. Like if I once went to a friend's wedding in Tuscany, and she was very emotional, like in a happy way, and I still lost my voice. So um
Oh,
yeah, so it's a weird thing. And I sometimes narrate audiobooks, and so
mhm.
this is kind of a problem for me because I
Oh
would love
yeah,
to.
God, that would be a big one. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Um, Give me just a second here. I'll come up with something here for you.
okay. I didn't know if the bay laurel or I don't know.
I mean, Bay Laurel's a little bit more for
I
here we
would
go.
say also, if I could add to this, that
Mhm.
I've read a bunch of audiobooks, but it's not really my thing as an actor. So I still get even when and sometimes when I was given solos in church, I get very stage frighty around singing a little bit sometimes when I first start out, and I don't know. So sometimes I wonder if like my voice starts to go a little bit because I'm also
Right, right,
acting.
right. Okay, so like I have two, I want to say two things about that. Right.
Okay.
So one, let's just talk straight up like laryngitis, right? Just straight up laryngitis.
Mhm.
And so actually now that I think about it, I have three things to say about this. Okay, so straight up laryngitis, you could use like either in a gargle or just a couple drops internally, lemon, but I'd probably go more. There's a couple oils in the Maluka family, which is the family of tea tree, but not tea tree. It's either Naoli or Cajuput. That looks like Cajuput. And I would probably lean towards the Cajuput, the Cajuput, however you want to say it.
Okay.
Um,
Neroli?
and
Did you say
like a
neroli? Oh, naoli. Sorry.
Naoli, yeah, it's kind of it's like tea tree, but a little bit different.
Okay.
Um, Targets a little bit more. It's very strengthening to the body and targets a little bit more of the respiratory tract than tea tree does. Tea tree still will, but those are pretty solid for laryngitis. And if you're feeling kind of like like you said, like you might feel like stage fright, or you might feel like a little like maybe in a weakened state because of the stress and the tension or the fear or whatever it is.
Mhm.
Naoli might be your better bet.
Okay.
And so like you could kind of go either way. The reason that I say the KU put is it's also strengthening and fortifying. It's also good for those things, but it also kind of strengthens the pulse. And in those situations, like the pulse can get a little bit like irregular or erratic when you know you're having the stage fright, or you're like, okay, I have to get up and perform now, and so it's like it makes the pulse kind of strong, right? And so you can experiment with those two. They're both very, very inexpensive. So, you know, you can use them for other things, other respiratory things, but both could be pretty solid. Okay, so then I go to the next piece. Do you find yourself doing this, like, you know, you're getting ready to perform or you're doing whatever, you'll be like sitting there and then you go,
I mean, I think so. I mean, I
okay,
definitely feeling that. I don't know
yeah,
if I actually physically do it, but there is
you can kind of feel a little bit something. Do you have a little bit of difficulty swallowing at the time?
um I guess. I don't know. It's when I'm given I mean, when the pandemic hit, there was no more choirs, but when I'm given a solo at church, I 100% panic. I panic like I don't even know what that is. I have no idea what that is. It's so bizarre to me.
Yeah.
It's like a out of
Um,
body experience. But and it's in narrating audiobooks is not that bad, but if
right, but
you're a
still,
writer and you make a mistake and you have to go back, I'm very wary that
right.
it's somebody else's time. I'm in a booth, it's so in the beginning always I'm a little bit I do experience a little bit of nerves, and even in the booth, there's a
Okay. So the thing that I would say after that is just anise or anise by itself.
okay.
And it helps to balance out the nervous system, the autonomic nervous system, which is fight, flight with rest and repair. Like it helps to balance it out and tone it. And then it can help to relax like the swallowing mechanism and that gulping of air. Like it will actually reduce that gulping of air. Like they call it aerophagy or aerophagy, something like that. But it's almost like a nervous tension where you start like kind of gulping, and usually we have it, and there's a little bit of anxiety as well. And so, because anxiety can be tied to the breath. Not all anxiety, but it can be tied to the breath. And so like in those times, if you can calm down the breath, sometimes the anxiety will diminish, or at least lessen, I should say. Okay. And so there's that part. And on the flip side of that, you could also use marjoram, like just inhaling some marjoram, which will pull you out of fight, flight, and help you. It's like it basically helps to tone the vagus nerve, which is tied to rest and repair. Not that you're trying to rest and repair here, but you're just trying to pull yourself out of fight, flight. But rest and repair mode would be tied more to the intuitive side of the mind rather than grinding on the details. And I think sometimes when we're getting ready to perform or something, you start thinking of the details rather than like, I'm ready, I just need to stand up and let her rip. You know what I mean? We start thinking about, what about this? What about that? What about this? And it kind of helps to pull you out of that. Okay. So those two could be like in your pocket anytime for something like that. I mean, also with anxiety, what's that?
Oh, the anisette or the anise. Do I inhale it, or do I put it in water?
You could inhale it, but honestly, for that, I would do a couple of drops in water and just drink it. Like that's going to be so much more potent for this particular issue.
Okay.
Okay. So then the next part. I'm
so sorry.
No, that's okay. Like I like talking these things out. I used to love being a therapist. I get to be a therapist again for a couple hours. And so
the losing a voice, it's so bizarre. It's really it's like it's the weirdest thing I've ever experienced.
Especially with the voice being a big piece of what you do. Right. So the thing that I would say is, has there ever been like a trauma or something related to like not performing or singing?
Oh, yeah. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. So there's this thing in Chinese medicine, and oh God, what do they call it? They call it something like plum ped or plum something. I can't remember. But basically you get this little thing in your throat because of like a past grief, right? Like a sadness or a grief, more grief than anything. And so it can linger there for a very long time. And a lot of times it's very, very unconscious. Like you're not like going, oh, I'm feeling bad about XYZ. It's just something that's like locked in your body, and it will just come out sometimes. And it makes me wonder if this might even be a little piece of it. And so if that's the case and you want to experiment, I would try doing like helichrysum, something like that, something trauma related. Helichrysum is probably your best bet. And you're probably not going to know like, hey, I need to focus in on this thing that happened 30 years ago, unless you know what it is. If you know what it is, then sit and just think of the situation. If you can't, then sit and just think of yourself like singing, performing, talking in the booth for the, whatever it is. Just think of times where that's happened, and you'll kind of start going down the rabbit hole of what the trauma is attached to. And then at some point it just keeps coming up and up and up, and then eventually you'll clear it. So helichrysum can work. Actually, even marjoram can work. It's a little slower. Cypress can work if it's a bit more in the mental body, but rose can also work, like just, standard rose. Ginger lily could even work, but helichrysum is probably your best bet.
Okay.
Yeah, and they're just inhalations.
Okay.
Yeah, no need to, for that one, it's good to inhale and think of either the situation, if you're aware of it, and if you're not, just think of when it gets triggered. Like, okay, I'm getting ready to sing and here I go again. So think of the last time you sang and just start inhaling it, and then think of the time before, and just start unwinding some of the times when it would happen, and then pretty soon you'll go deeper into the hole that it's in.
Okay, great. I think I have the helichrysum body spray or tonic that you.
Yeah, just spray it in your hand and just smell it like that.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. That's so
You're so let us know how that works.
Okay, yeah. Hopefully I won't lose my voice.